everyone, and hope you're all having an amazing day. With the crazy political climate right now and everything just being ridiculous, and all the gun control rhetoric and all the gun legislation and the crappy politicians and all that, there's a lot of misinformation about guns being spread around, and one of the most notorious ones you hear from everyone is we need to take the AR-15 off the street because it's a military rifle. We need to take these guns because they're built to kill. They're super dangerous. They're built for war and stuff like that. And I think they're getting confused with the M16A. The M16A was the actual gun. But I'm going to provide an example today, or two examples actually, about how you can be easily deceived just based off the looks of something, not actually seeing its specs. Without further ado, let's get into example one. So I'm going to start this example to provide a little bit of context of how this is going to work. There's three cars. There are three vehicles present. You have one car, the base. You have the lower trim. You have this one and that one. Now, if you were to guess which cars were each, which one was the performance model, which one was the lower trim model, which one was the nicer one, what would you think? So, I would assume, for the most part, most people who don't know anything about cars, who know very little, would assume this car is very similar to this one. That it's mostly the same, if not the same car. Just based off the looks. They look fairly similar. They got similar aspects to them. They got similar body lines. They got similar bumpers. Well, actually, this is the Volkswagen Golf TSI manual, the 1.8 liter base model. This is the Golf R, which is the high performance version, which is the nicest one you can buy. And this is the Golf R line. Now, some car guys might not even know what a Golf R line is, but I'm about to get into that. So if we look at the specs of the regular Volkswagen Golf, you can see it's got about 170 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. It's got front-wheel drive, 0 to 60 of 6.6 seconds. Okay, so this is reasonable numbers. We're not comparing. This is just baseline. We look at the performance model. We see, 2 liters, and it's got 292 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque, all-wheel drive, and it does 0 to 60 in less than 5 seconds. That is still decently fast for a Volkswagen, the price of a $40,000. But the price is irrelevant to this example. Now, just by looking at this car, what do you think its performance is going to be? If you guessed anywhere above 6-7 seconds, 0 to 60, and less than 200 horsepower, you'd be about right. Now, to be fair, this is the diesel model. There is a 240 horsepower variant, but most people do not get that variant, but it is possible. So just for comparison's sake, most people are going to get the diesel model or the 1.8 liter. They're going to get the lower trim models with the less horsepower. So, with this example finished, what you can basically provide from this is that this cars, while looking the same or looking very similar to each other, are not the same car. This car has the performance of this car, but it has the looks of the fast car. Do you see how people could think that these two are the same just based off the looks? If you were to get rid of all the specifications and anything and just look at these cars by what they are physically and what they are in the pictures, you could probably think that these are two of the same cars, but they're not. But with that example out of the way, let's go to number 2. You have 3 rifles. Take a second and guess which one is the civilian rifles and which one are the military rifles. We'll start off with the first one. This is a Ruger Mini 14 Ranch rifle. They did make a military version of this, but for comparison's sake, we're using the semi-auto variant because that's what most people have and that's what's most common. There was one variant, it was not extremely used. And you have the Colt M16A. This is the military rifle. This is the military version that comes fully automatic from the factory and sent straight to the military. Civilians do not even have the opportunity to buy this gun. And if it is, it's very expensive and very selective. And you have the Colt AR-15. This is the semi-auto gun that most people can buy and is currently the most popular rifle in the country. So what do the specs say? Looking at these guns, most people would assume same situation. This looks like a regular hunting rifle, nothing too crazy. But these two guns, oh my, they're like crazy assault rifles. They're gonna kill everyone. They're super powerful and they're so strong. Now, to an average gun enthusiast, they can tell the differences between the two. Now, you could argue, some people might argue, well, this gun's newer than that one, and it's based off the design of this one. Sure, you can make the comparison. But for the most part, we're trying to dumb it down because most people will think that these two guns are the same. Average people will most see these two guns and they will think that they're the same or at least very similar. Let's look at the specs. The Remington, the Ruger Mini 14 Ranch Rifle files a 223 Remington or 5.56 NATO. Its barrel diameter, its caliber is 5.56. Its barrel length is 13 inches to 22 inches, depending on the version that was sold. But I'm guessing the 20, maybe 16 to 18 inch was probably the standard version, and then 22 was probably the long barrel version, and then maybe 13 being the carbine. This version was semi-auto. They did make a full auto variant, but we are comparing the semi-auto variant, which is what most people have. Now, the M16A. This fires only a 5.56 NATO. Its barrel length is 20 inches, but here's the thing. With this gun, it is a fully automatic. And what that means for one trigger pull gets continuous fire. It constantly shoots. Because of that, it has RPM, which means revolutions per minute. How many... No. Sorry. It means rounds per minute. How many rounds fire out of the gun every minute? Simple as that. 700 to 950 rounds per minute. And finally, we have the AR-15. If you look at these two guns, you can see the specs are very similar to the Ruger Mini 14 Ranch Rifle, with some notable exceptions, with the standard gun being average 20 inches like the Colt M16A, but then there are different versions like the carbine, more similar to the M4, that are 16 inches, and then there's a long barrel version that's 24 inches. Its firing type is semi-automatic, so these two are both semi-automatic. And that basically sums it up. The thing is, what I want to get across is that even though these guns look the same, they're not the same. Similarity, but not the same. Similarity, but not equality. Similarly, but not equally. It's a concept they teach in math. Some things can be similar, but they cannot be the same. They look the same, but they're not the same gun. And if you want to get into specifics about what the differences are, like what are the cosmetic differences or manufacturing dates, that's not what this is for. Hopefully this informed some people and has provided a little bit of insight to those who think the AR-15 is some military rifle. And if you think I'm lying, then okay, you might have a fair point, because who knows? I'm some guy on the internet. You can't trust me. So please look this stuff up. If you want to be more interested in it, look on Wikipedia. I actually have the page right here. I was doing some stuff to find some pictures and look up some actual specs. And also, just while I'm here, this is the service history. Just look at all the wars that the M16A is in. You know what you don't see? We're going to go... I have it somewhere. If we're going to go back to provide any examples of this... Just to provide any last-ditch attempt, where do you see wars fought in? You don't. Because this gun was never sold to the military. It was exclusively a civilian firearm. All the wars? No wars. All wars? No wars. We're clear? Good. Alright then. Well, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to dislike me because you're a stupid liberal who doesn't like facts, then that's fine. Or if you just think I have a bit of criticism, or something, just say it in the comments. I'm totally fine with that. Anyway, wish you all a good day.